nobody can access it yet. And what Kenyans may not understand is that nearly half the country, 20 million people, are within that poverty bracket. People earning 200 shillings a day. That's the price of unga. There are 20 million Kenyans who cannot put food on the table. I need to hear from them what went wrong with Uhuru Kenyatta's economic policies and what they'll do differently. Of course, Wajakoya has told us they'll rear snakes. We need to hear from Azimio and Kenya Kwanza what they will actually do differently. I need specifics. I need people who will be talking about Kenyans. Who are these Kenyans? Where are they? How many are they? If you're going to create jobs, where? How many jobs? How will that solve the job problem? Country where you're looking at over 40 million, both poor and rich, who cannot actually access basic health. These are some of the issues that we'll be talking about. But one of the things that cannot run away from is corruption. We need to actually have clear plans on the table. Because honestly, corruption, in fact, if you're looking at our expenditure currently as a country, the biggest expenditure is debt. That's at 70%, 1.3 trillion. The second one is civil servants pay at around 900 billion. The third one is corruption at between 600 to 700 billion. The money we are giving the counties actually comes a distant fourth or fifth. So basically what we are saying is that, look here, as long as we will continue being corrupt, as long as government has no clear, these future governments have no clear plan to nip corruption at the bud, then these guys should just pack and go home. We chop up the country and share the loot and maybe immigrate to other great places like Uganda.
Nerema, what are you looking forward to?
For me, for this one, I'm going to be biased and look at what they are giving or what they're offering young people. As much as it's going to heavily rely on opportunities, I think the questions I will be looking for answers to are specific to the Aga Khan University report of 2016, which people really like to quote. And I read that 50% believe it doesn't matter how one makes money, but we forget that another 50% care how you make money. How are you going to answer that? And when you read on, 47% admire those who make money. They don't care how. But remember, there's another 53% who care how you make money. How are you going to speak to those youth? And then there's 30% who believe that corruption is profitable. 70% do not believe that corruption is profitable. So what are some of the responses they're going to give to that 70%? And then finally, the fact that 73% are afraid to stand up for what is right. Why is that number so high? It shouldn't be that high. That means only 27% of young people in this country believe in standing up for what is right. How are they going to make the environment conducive for young people to support the fight against corruption? But I think as well, another thing that concerns me is not even just how we're going to have the resources or things like that. It's the participation of young people. Because in 2016, that same report said that 90% of young people are interested in engaging in politics. The data from IEBC clearly shows us that only 39% are interested in participating in this election. So whoever wins in this election has to deal with a population of young people that have decided to clock out. They don't believe in your leadership already, and they chose not to participate by even registering. How are you going to manage that population? And how are you going to offer solutions to a population that didn't even believe in lining up to vote for you? And how are you going to do it in a very difficult economy? And so integrity will be key, because we'll have to manage the amount of resources that we have. And youth will have to see where their taxes are going. Taxes are high. We are all paying them indirectly. And a number of youth in that 2016 report do not believe in paying their taxes, guess what? That number has increased as well. So how would you convince the youth that their taxes is being used for the betterment of this country, and they are able to see the results of them paying those high taxes?
Okay. Dr. Baraza, are you expecting anything different before I come to you, Asaska? Are you expecting anything different for debate 2, which is about to kick off?
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
Very, very concrete strategies on how they are going to deal with these issues that touch very directly on Kenyans. They are talking about socio-economic programs to alleviate the immediate problems of the majority of Kenyans. The women, they are, I think Azimio Moja is talking about women and children, the vulnerable ones. And I think I agree with Wanjiru. This 6,000 into the pocket, you know, I hope it's not just a promise. Kenyans are hurting, Kenyans are hungry. I think I need to understand that, how that money is going to be sourced and when, because Kenyans are waiting. Issue of devolution, I want to hear concrete steps towards strengthening of devolution. Women, of course, I want to hear about what it is they are going to do with women. And
all right. Saska, you wanted to jump in?
Yes. Trevor, I wanted to let you know that I feel very privileged sitting in this panel tonight because I'm a minority, I'm a woman, I'm Rendile from Marsabit, and I like that Azimio Manifesto have mentioned about peace and security. And I know as an individual, as a resident of one of the northern frontier counties, Article 238 of our Constitution does guarantee peace and security for every Kenyan. And I feel like as a northerner, we've been left out. Particularly, most of you know about the conflict in Marsabit. People are being killed every single day. Unfortunately, it does not make it to news. And what I'm expecting today is to see what Ms. Karua and Mr. Gachagua have for the northern frontier counties. And one, on peace and security. Number 2, on equal access to education and health. And more so security, because we know peace and security are the main drivers of our economic development. And that's why we are so behind. I'm really keen, quite biased, if you may say so, but I want to see what they have for the northern frontier counties.
Wanjir, one other thing that we have to touch on before we cross over to the debate is the affirmative action. The Kenya Kwanza manifesto talks about giving 50% of the positions to women. Same as Azimio also talks about empowering the women in their manifesto as well. But is this all about positions? And how come we've consistently failed on the 2/3 gender rule?
Right. I think the failure of the 2/3 gender is similar to, to the, the lack of implementation of the promise. But there's also the issue of patriarchy, which means it is more difficult for women to access capital for their businesses. It is more difficult for women in politics. And so that is why the affirmative action comes in, to level the engagement ground. And we'd like to see, of course, we've already seen today that 3 of the parties have already begun to implement the affirmative action principle by ensuring that the candidate for DP is a woman. And so we need to look at their proposals, but also the actions of the party as they go on, because we don't want any more false, empty promises, so to speak. And of course, when women get in there, they need to ensure they push for that gender principle. And then on the issue, the expectations, really building upon what the panelists have said, at the minimum, that has been driven by budgeted corruption. So at the minimum, we are looking at what are the concrete strategies for economic recovery, what are the concrete strategies for economic transformation, so that we can create jobs and so that we can have a balanced budget and we can generate enough money to implement the projects that we need and a good life for all Kenyans. That's the minimum. And I believe that the parties have crafted their proposals, so we'll be hearing that. I think the other thing that is maybe the game changer as far as I'm concerned, as the Institute for Social Accountability, we've been investigating this issue of the culture. What has happened to our social accountability culture?
Yeah.
And it, you know, at the center of this is we need to be very intentional about changing the way citizens engage with their public leaders, to move away from the dependency approach, to move away from the patrimonial approach, to one of empowered citizens exercising their agency, being patriotic, responsible citizens, but having voice and having the space to engage. So I'm very keen to hear what's the role of the citizens. What's the empowering role of the citizens? Linked to that, what are the strategies to transform the public sector? Because corruption doesn't just happen, you know, outside of a framework. There are public servants who are recruited who approve these schemes across the way. Like I said, we've seen an amazing example just this last week when the dean of Kenyatta University refused to hand over land to the cabinet president because it was unprocedural. And you know, that shows a lot of courage. So what, and then also maybe borrowing from Nerima, who gave us, who looked at the study from a positive point of view. When we go back to the Kibaki regime, much as the Kibaki regime didn't do well in fighting corruption, they did have the prime minister's, under the prime minister's office, the public sector transformation unit. And that unit is the one that transformed the way we get our IDs issued, our passports renewed. And in a space of just 3 months, we went from queuing and, you know, people having to bribe to being able to walk in and just get things done for you. That was done by Kenyans in real time. So the public sector can be reformed, and we want to hear more of those. Then lastly, historical issues. There are land issues that are still pressing. There's a Truth and Justice Reconciliation report. Those issues are still pending, and I believe a lot of the problems we have at present is the failure to address those issues.
All right, a lot to be packed within 1.5 hours. But Dr. Baraza, you brought up the issue of women and the role they play. How come we've consistently not been able to implement the 2/3 gender rule?
Patriarchy. I think she has nailed it. Patriarchy. Parliament has on several occasions failed to pass the bill on the legislative framework for realization of the not more than 2/3 gender rule. So there has been a lack of political will to push that agenda. But basically it's patriarchy.
Does the solution lie in appointments? Because the Kenya Kwanza manifesto says they'll give 50% of all appointive positions to women. Is that a solution?
I think it would be, but it would be better if it is within a framework. Because it can be done today and the following time it is not there. That's why we need a legislative framework for it. But that would be a good beginning if they give women those numbers. But still, we'll need the legal framework to sustain it.
Professor Menya, what are your thoughts? Is it just patriarchy? Is that where the problem lies? Is that why we've been unable to get the 2/3 gender rule?
I think again it is it's a leadership issue still. And I agree 100% with Dr. Baraz on this one, that the leadership that we have been given, look at this thing as tokenism. I think it is quite possible to implement this within the existing frameworks we have if parties actually put mechanisms within the party themselves. I mean, one obvious example would be to use party lists. And within the party list, you ensure that, the different genders are represented accordingly, so that if a particular gender quota is down, then of course you go for the other gender. Yes, but of course we know that they are not interested in doing this. The day they would be, it would actually reflect, is very, very easy to do. We have very many competent Kenyan women, and let me say on air, without any fear of contradiction, that in the architecture department at University of Nairobi, where I was, we are almost reaching gender parity. 50-50 on the students. But it's because we believed there was nothing wrong with a Kenyan girl in terms of studying architecture, and we went out to schools and talked to them, and they came not on affirmative action. They came on competence. We have enough competent Kenyan women. In fact, I think the problem is the other way around, that we have so many incompetent men occupying positions, and you can't figure out why. Yes, so I think it is political will, and on this one, I believe that, in fact, the political parties and government must be forced, using legal frameworks, to actually realize gender parity as was envisaged in the Constitution.
But Nerima, what are your thoughts on this? Because there's someone who complains and says that the critics say that even those same appointments that we're talking about tend to be very skewed, and it's more about a political reward for political loyalists rather than the people who are competent.
There's a sense of that, but also this time it's a little bit different because party lists have been rejected. The parties had tried to put in individuals as favors, people who had stood for elective seats and lost them in the primaries, for instance. And, you know, IBC was very, very clear in ORPP. And so when they submitted them, they were rejected, and they've been given a timeline within a week, which is ending this week, to submit a new list. So we have seen the challenges in the space, and the right institutions are working toward fixing those challenges. But I also feel that the public doesn't quite understand the role of women representatives.
Nerima, I have to interrupt you one more time because we're crossing over to the balloting session now. This is an important session. Let's see what's going on there with Nimrod Tabu and was taking us through that.
Hi, basi. Naam, asante. Kama tulivyofahamu katika awamu ya kwanza, Mheshimiwa Rigathi Gachagua yuko hapa, Mheshimiwa Bi Martha Karua vile vile, wote wamefika hapa, wagombea mwenza kutoka Kenya Kwanza na vile vile Azimio. Tutafanya kama tulivyofanya desturi ya kwanza, nitawaruhusu mmoja achukue kijikaratasi na mwingine. Asante sana. Halafu tuwaonyeshe watazamaji, yule atakayekuwa kwanza basi atakuwa ni wa kwanza kuingia katika jukwaa na kuweza kujitambulisha na kupata fursa ya kujibu swali la kwanza. Asanteni sana na natakia kila laheri katika mdahalo wa leo. Asante mtazamaji, na kurudisha kwake Trevor. Thank you so much.
The point, because the balloting then means whoever picked the first number is the one who will make first opening remarks and will be the first to make closing remarks as well. So that will be Honorable Rigathi Gachagua of the Kenya Kwanza team who will make the first opening remarks and also the closing remarks. Yes, Nerima, you're coming to you before we cross over to the debate which is about to begin in the next 3 minutes.
Yes, I think that one way to debunk a lot of these positions is understanding the roles of them. And for women representative, I feel a lot of people complain about that position because they don't necessarily understand the role of women representative. Because a lot of people come to me and say, how much does she get? What does she even do there? Is it even necessary? I wish we would ask the same questions about our members of parliament across the board and ask them evenly so that we have the right people representing us and understanding how important it is to have people who qualify to represent us.
Yeah, but as a young person, Nerima, what inspires the youth to vote? Because there are those who claim now, just like Justina just said, that it's the people who are electing the wrong leaders. What inspires them to vote?
They have to be able to recognize an individual who identifies with them and their issues. I see a lot of youth who follow people that they feel are speaking sense to them.
All right. I have to take a quick break now. When you come back, it's time for debate number 2 between Honorable Rigathi Gachagua and Honorable Martha Karua. That will be moderated by Sophia Wanuna and James Smart. Stay with Deputy Presidential Debates.
Karibu Cam. By offering market linkages, networking opportunities and technical assistance, Kenya Association of Manufacturers assists its members to grow and scale up their businesses. Join us and let us work together to grow the manufacturing sector. Becoming a CAM member is as easy as 1, 2, 3. Kenya Association of Manufacturers, driving global competitiveness.
When we hate, demonize, and divide, we solidarity. Compassion and respect, our actions become more powerful. And together we can change the world.
I think the most important quality of a leader is wisdom, so that the decisions that are being made now, he knows how, it's like a chess player who sees 10 moves ahead.
Najua wakati ambapo mlipa ushuru wake anataka aone angalau kazi ya pesa yake ambayo anailipia. Pesa tunaamini kwa zinaishia kwa mifuko za watu binafsi.
I think it's important that wealth is declared frequently, and if people have found ways to accumulate wealth very quickly, absolutely good for them, as long as, of course, that is done honestly and ethically.
We need leaders who are well educated to understand the challenges that we face in the modern world.
Kwa mfano, mtu mwenye amesomea ukandarasi wa barabara, mkiwa na kiongozi ambaye amesomea hiyo taaluma, una uhakika kwamba barabara za eneo lako zitakuwa zina usimamizi mzuri.
What is a secondary school in Kenya? It ranges from 106 high-cost national schools educating 3% of the learners, where you find ultra-modern libraries and laboratories, the most experienced principals and teachers, and the best teacher-student ratios. To 7,019, some barely established, understaffed, lacking basic facilities, sub-county schools, educating over 60% of learners. Given that KCSE is the most consequential examination in our education system, isn't it fair that we level the ground for all learners to excel by narrowing the capacity gaps between the worst and schools to deliver quality education? The Sawa agenda calls for a sub-county schools upgrading program and a change from the capitation model to enable small schools to grow. Without these, SDG 4 is a false promise to most Kenyan children.
Check it. Let's talk about banking. Or let's talk about dreams and goals. Your dreams, your goals.
If you're like Louise, you value doing biz with ease. Or maybe you're like Dan, a family man with a plan. At Diamond Trust Bank, it starts with one dream, one goal, one deposit, and one transaction. Pamoja, let's make it happen. So don't just bank with us, bank on us.
Enroll at Catholic University of Eastern Africa for courses in nursing, law, business, economics, computer science, education, community health and development, actuarial science, international relations, counseling psychology, regional integration and theology. September intake ongoing at Langata and Eldoret campuses. Email admissions@quare.edu or visit quare.edu. Quare for innovative, marketable graduates.
Good evening and welcome to the Pope Paul VI Learning Resource Center at the Catholic University of Eastern Africa. My name is James Smart of NTV.
And I am Sophia Wanuna of KTN News. Welcome to the second and last of two debates between the running mates of the four presidential candidates cleared to run for president in the forthcoming election. This is the fourth of 6 national televised debates organized through a joint media presidential debates initiative, bringing together literally the entire Kenyan media fraternity.
The candidates participating in the debate have agreed to the rules and guidelines requiring them to conduct themselves with utmost decorum, address each other with respect, and extend honor to viewers watching this debate live across all Kenya's broadcast media platforms.
Indeed, and the candidates in the debate have also agreed to adhere to the allocated time. Each candidate has 2 minutes to make an opening statement, 2 minutes to answer a question, and 60 seconds for a rebuttal. The topics have carefully been selected after a thorough assessment of the state of our nation and the sentiments of the regular Kenyan voters in various parts of this country.
In line with the debate rules and the best practices, the questions we shall ask have not been shared with any of the campaign teams, neither were they discussed or formulated in conjunction with anyone. The questions are entirely our own.
And an invited audience here seated in the auditorium has also agreed to the debate rules. They have been fully briefed that cheers, jeers or any other form of noise is not permitted during the debate. We have to make the exception now as we request the audience to help us warmly welcome Honorable Martha Karua and Honorable Rigathi Gachagua to the stage. Karibuni sana. Honorable Rigathi Gachagua occupying podium 1 in order of that balloting exercise we just witnessed a few moments ago. You have heard the rules of the debate and we look forward to a fruitful engagement this evening. We'll begin with your opening statement, Mr. Gachagua, in 2 minutes.
Thank you. My name is Rigathi Gachagua, born and brought up in the slopes of Mount Kenya, Herega village 57 years ago. Family is the basic unit of society and the nation. Strong families make strong nations. I'm the head of a family, and it is my pleasure and privilege to introduce my family tonight, who are here with me. My wife of 35 years, Pastor Dorcas Wanjiku Rigathi, and my firstborn son, Kevin Gachagua, a software engineer, and my secondborn son, Dr. Keith Ikino, a medical doctor who helps me to run family business. Tonight is a defining moment for the people of Kenya. The people of Kenya are in anguish. They are in a state of helplessness. They have no food. They don't know where to get their next meal. They are devastated. They need hope. Tonight, I'll present the Kenya Kwanza plan on how we intend to turn around the economy of this country, put people where they belong, restore their dignity, put money in their pocket, and allow them to enjoy their dignity. I look forward to a very objective debate, no trivialities, issues, so that the people of Kenya have an opportunity to interrogate what we plan to do for them. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Gachagua. Madam Martha Karua, karibu, now your 2 minutes for your opening statement.
Thank you, Sophia. I was born and brought up in Kirinyaga, and I want to thank my parents, who are still alive, thank God, for instilling the values of honesty, hard work, community, and respect, values that hold good to this day. In this debate and in the audience, I have my family, my 2 children, Wawira and Edward, my grandchildren, 4 of them, My brothers and sisters, some of them, others are online. I represent the Azimio hope for this country. Azimio, together with Kenyans of goodwill, is out to rescue this country from the stranglehold of corruption cartels. This country can't breathe. We cannot get the services that people do require because monies intended for public service are going into the pockets of corruption cartels, who then become instant millionaires with huge bank balances. We intend to help this country, to help citizens get their country back, and all the resources of this country will be utilized for the best interests of the entire nation, not a select few. I am here to discuss those issues, and I am glad that my opponent is also talking of issues, which is what we have been calling for in our campaign. I'm able, ready, and willing.
Thank you very much, candidates, for your opening statements. Let's introduce the elephant in the room and start this debate. The question of the day